But isn't that also the case where, I mean, you like you said earlier, the sort of people who we even find who eventually come out when elections hold, which is probably once in 10 years, to local government, the kind of candidates you even see most times don't even inspire that much courage in you. Oh, yes. In many parts of this country. It's seen as a, okay, give him, let him hold this one, sort of thing. And how much of this, talking about accountability now, goes back to our state legislatures now, which have sort of become a parastatal under the governor's office. The governor gives orders, bills are passed. Shouldn't they be the ones checking the governor in this case? I mean, I don't know. What role should they be playing in this?
I think there is a total failure of governance at all levels across our country. And so you see a lot of anomaly from both the civil service, from both the judiciary, the legislature. It's now an issue of paddy government, a lot of government across the nation.
How's that going to change?
That is going to change with intentional leadership. People must play intentional consciousness to what is happening. So, for example, election has happened. I had to knock on doors on election day to get people to even come out on election day to vote. Now, the point is, people don't bother, they don't care about all these things. When we begin to hold them responsible, we go to our local government office and demand some things, and demand some service, and insist that some things should be done, and insist that our local government chairmen are not just on a 9-to-5 job. They come to the office, they sit down, they sign papers and checks and all that, and they go back home. If people do not demand for quality and for service and for accountability, government is not going to give it. One of my leaders says, power is not served a la carte. The same way service delivery is not served a la carte. People must be demand. We only place the man on the presidency. We place the man on the governors. But we don't place them, even if the person was put there. If you keep the person on their toes and say, excuse me, do you know that there is actually a report from the National Bureau of Statistics of how much is released into all the local government of the Federation every month, where the money is meant to go, how much was released every time the money comes out. Then you can say, excuse me, this money was released to you. How was this money shared? You can apply for freedom of information. You can even go to court.
By way of extension, yeah. I think that I should say that leadership is in every way a factor of followership. You cannot have responsible leadership without having responsible followership. We have a situation in this country where people are more or less concerned with merely electing people into office and then they sit back. Nobody thinks that beyond the elections there is a further responsibility, which is to keep your leaders on their feet, to make them accountable for whatever thrust has been put in their custody. So that's really where the challenge. We have, perhaps because our people have over the years been so bastardized by the issue of bad leadership to the point where they have been forced to accept their reality. Nobody simply considers whether it is more or less a responsibility. It's as much our right to vote people into office as well as it's our duty to ensure that those people who are in office, they serve. So that's where the challenge comes from.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll try and round up on this conversation and also find out, the constitutional amendment that's happened, what you think about the states. Because, I mean, we need 2/3 of the states to also approve for it to become, and if you see it ever happening. We'll take a quick break after that. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about constitutional amendments and the local government with regards to autonomy. I have here with me Wofai and Dayo. And before the break, I said we're going to talk about what the National Assembly has passed. And
I was going to mention something before we go
very quickly.
There's an health implication to this. So we keep talking about monkeypox or monkey tail or whatever.
Nobody even knows what it is exactly.
Or whatever. There's this thing going on today and that health calamity tomorrow. Now, the issue is that it can also be linked to lack of effective local government administration. Because look at it. The population of the country comes from the local government. Yeah. So you're supposed to have a population index of how many people are in this local government so that the local government can provide services to those people. But when you don't even have an effective local government, who doesn't have a database of the resident, doesn't know have no idea who exists in that space, in particular in the north where there's been a lot of chaos and wars and all that, and a lot of empty lands. So without an effective local government, there's unemployment. Because you don't even know how many young people are here, how many we need to provide services for, and you're not able to also provide immunization or vaccination for those people because you don't even know how many people.
When is
what
our
the
next
issues
census
are.
supposed to be? I just thought about that.
Well,
wasn't it supposed to be last
yeah,
year?
it was supposed to be last year.
Yeah.
Then we had been inundated with too many issues that we just.
So we're still working with 2006
Indeed,
numbers.
yes.
But yeah, we're talking about the state's legislatures now and what your thoughts about whether they are going to pass, follow suit with the federal government, or with the National Assembly.
That's putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
It's telling me to assume a prophetic stand.
No, but I asked that because
yes,
the states
yes,
generally are
indeed.
not fans,
Well,
whether we like it or not, of autonomous local government.
From the state of things presently, I don't think it favors the states.
Yeah.
The states want to continue. They want to continue to subjugate the local governments. They want to continue to control the local governments. We had earlier said that local governments are more or less conduit pipes for the sharing of monies for whichever party governs the state. That's perhaps the reason why we actually have these talks. Now, but whether the states will pass it indeed remains. It's indeed it's a different issue. But it's possible that the states might still pass it and still go ahead to circumvent the law. Nothing happens.
They're doing right now.
Like they're doing. I have sat down to look at the law, and I seem to think that whether or not the law is passed, I don't think it will stop the states from continuing to do what it is that they are doing. For the simple reason that the law focused so much on fiscal control. It's a question of whether or not local governments should continue to share an account with the state government.
Goes back to money.
Yeah, but nothing was said about whether or not the states should continue to exert the very humongous powers that they have been exerting and which powers were given by the Constitution. The concern with that law is Section 162. Sharing of allocation of resources from the Federation
Not Section
account.
7.
Not Section 7. By the way, Section 7 is the section which establishes a democratically elected local government system in Nigeria, and then empowers the state, gave the state so much powers to determine such issues as the function, the structure, even the financial control of local government. Now, nobody was talking about Section 7. Nobody was talking about the 4th schedule of the Constitution, which details the functions of these local governments. But almost everyone was concerned about sharing of money. So that for me, it becomes an issue of whether or not.
So you basically are focusing on the wrong
thing. Yeah, so that those who are actually clamoring for a distinct account between the local government and the state government, it might for me seem like their concern is more or less getting more money and not whether or not they actually want to work.
Or whether local governments will be effective.
Oh, yes.
Your final thoughts there?
My final thought is that we need to change leadership at all levels. We need effective and responsive leadership, either local government, federal government, and state government. I'm for restructuring. I believe that we need to look at how we can, change the way we operate and reform our governance, in particular strengthen our local government, and also get more young people to get into governance. Indeed. Not just young by age, but also young in the mind and in the heart, who have fresh ideas, who have experiences to revolutionize how things are done in our country.
Thank you very much, Daya. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
Long debates, we'll keep watching. Hopefully we get it right one day. We'll take a quick break now and talk some entertainment when we come back.
Okay.